Well, for me, I think people who are not as successful in maths, I think they focus on the wrong sides of maths. Or maybe you don't spend too much time on it. I think you should be disciplined during the few months leading up to the exam. Because when you're at the point of no return after the exam, you cannot turn back time and reset what you have done. During the last few months, try to work as hard as you can. Don't push it too hard though. If you can do that, then I think you'll be very successful. Always believe in yourself. Hello, my name is Grab Siriwattana Akson. My nickname is Mikey. I'm currently studying in the Faculty of Medicine, Sirirat Hospital, Mahidol University. And in the entrance exam for English, I got 98.75 for English. And in other fields of English, I've also been to various speech competitions, various MUN conferences, or maybe even some quizzes related to English. So from the first grade to the 9th grade, I've been in Satijula school, and then for the 10th grade onwards to the 12th, I studied in Jemudom Siksa school. Well, it's because for a primary school, Satijula is usually ranked as being one of the top primary schools of Thailand. Actually, I've been interested in English since I was like 2 or 3 years old. Been taught the English language by my grandfather. He actually is the one that ignited my English skills and taught me the basics of how to speak English. They wanted me to speak English all the time, and so I had no choice but to speak English back to them. I was raised and born in Thailand. However, when I went into the outside world, I sort of realized that people didn't speak the same language as I did. So I had a bit of difficulties growing up as a little kid. But then as I got into Satijula, I started to adapt and improve my Thai skills. Growing up in Satijula in the early years, English was really my forte. It was one of the subjects that I enjoy learning. However, when it came to the Thai language, I was really bored and would sometimes sleep in class, really. Actually, my Thai scores weren't that good in the beginning. However, when I came to the 3rd grade, okay, my Thai started to improve. And regarding my parents, it's a mix of both between English and Thai. As for grandparents, however, I do speak English with them most of the time, let's say 70%. My grandparents, they sort of knew that English was an important language and that when thinking, when expressing ideas, when in communication, whereas Thai would be sort of my secondary language, to be quite frank. Chemistry, social studies. That was sort of the first 2 subjects that I started with, because first subject available then in M2. So when I went into the 9th grade, I've started to immerse myself in the harder subjects such as chemistry, physics, biology, and mathematics. Well, yes, mathematics in the 9th grade. I've started off with PMAC. In chemistry, I've started out with Pitong. I remember the first time when I met him, he started handing out these math problems for us to do first. In my head, I thought, this is going to be easy, I think. But I was wrong. When I got the questions, it was like, what is this? How do I do this? This is very alien to me. It's not what I would usually do. But then again, these hard problems sort of made me realize that mathematics is not as easy as I thought it would be. And so I started to invest more time in it. And as time went by, I started to do more math problems. And also, the devotion, I think, is also key to success in mathematics, or any subject really. I started to become better mathematics. And as time went on, I started to from, let's say, the whole worksheet has maybe 20 or 22 questions. At first, I could answer only 0 questions, but then as time went by, 1, 2. But really, before when I got into Jemudom, most I could answer was 5 or 6, I think. But it was still okay in my opinion. So. At first, when I was in Satijula, math was one of my strongest points, and I thought to myself, modern materials regarding math, I think they're quite easy. I could easily do them. But when I met Himet and knew what sort of questions I was going up against in the Jemudom exam, I was like, oh no, I have to restart my thinking all over again and devote more time to mathematics and be more patient with it. for me, I think Pitong still sort of like pushes students to become good at chemistry. So in Pitong's chemistry class, I think it was okay. His questions were the Udom exam, but he has a sort of strictness to him, such as when he would usually be annoyed when someone forgot to do worksheet. He would usually be annoyed by that, but then again, you learn from your mistakes. But I think one of the main factors for success in chemistry is discipline. If you have discipline, then you would succeed in chemistry. Physics, you do that as well. You would have lots of physics questions, and it's really the same with mathematics. You have to do many questions about physics, you have to memorize some stuff about physics as well. I think for me personally, it's a mix between maths and chemistry. You need maths devotion and skills while also needing chemistry's understanding as well. And you combine those two together and you get physics. For Thai, I actually started quite late started like in January or February. And I remember I started with Krugin, and she would get all these past exams, past papers for us to do. For me, it was okay because Thai was also not the strongest points, but it was quite strong, I think. So Thai wasn't much of a problem for me. Social studies, I actually think is one of my strongest points because I actually like social studies. In fact, I'm quite interested in history and geography, so I would usually think of social studies as a subject that I would enjoy really much and not fall asleep. For English, I remember I've been in a P2A for a period of time, and from that, to be quite honest with you, I didn't give much attention to the grammar and stuff because, like P-Max said, it's a sort of like sense that I went to these classes, I would sort of like gather the English questions and sort of predict what questions would come my way and just sort of like wing it, use my sense, and usually that ends up being quite successful for me. Out of the total scores in the midterm and final exams in Udom, I would usually get like 90% or more than 90% in the English exams. The total combined score, usually I would get a bit more than 95, such as 97, 96. I would usually be short by 0.25 points, but I don't care. At the end of the day, it's still a pretty good score, so. When I got into Udom, I got 81st place, which I think was pretty good because I'm in TU 81, so 81st place is quite a number for me. Well, to be honest with you, I think it was partly due to my parents as well because I see them as hardworking parents, and for me, I thought I should be hardworking as well. So, and I've seen many people around me who have not achieved such good scores because sometimes they like gaming too much or not as disciplined. So I thought maybe I should go down this disciplined path so that I could be successful in studying and for my future as well, really. When I had to go and do the MBIT exam in grade 9, I actually wanted to pass the first round and into the second round so that I could get a bit of experience from that. But when I couldn't, I actually felt quite sad and quite depressed for a few days after that because I thought to myself, if I can't do this, would I be able to go and enter Udom? But instead of being depressed about that, I sort of used that to my advantage and used that to push myself to get into Udom. In M4, when I started in grade 10, for me, my parents allowed me to tone down a bit on the studying because I've had a really tough grade 9. But still, I attended classes such as PMAX classes, Dong's classes, and when I got into Udom, I was suddenly surrounded by lots of great people, brilliant people who were really, really smart. So I had to adapt by sometimes asking them their techniques, or maybe in some fields that I don't know much about I would ask them for help. I think that's one of the nice things about Udom is that your friends in Udom are willing to help you and quite supportive. when I was in M6 grade 12 in the 12th grade, I was in the King class, and before I went into the King class, people would say in Thai ระวังให้ดีนะห้อง King เห็นแก่ตัว they're quite selfish. But when I actually got into the class, it was not like that. Everyone helped each other. Everyone was there for one another. It was like a really good family. It's a different family for me. I was the president of the English club in Dremudom in grade 11, and I was also the vice president of the Dremudom Model United Nations club in the 11th grade as well. And I was also the representative for the school in various competitions, such as the Pedamongkut English competition, or maybe the Rangsit University speech competitions, and etc. For the Rangsit University competition, I got first place. I was short by about a few points. I could get into the next round, but still, I finished quite okay. I think I reached my peak in the first semester of 11th grade, because as the seniors say that you need to spend your 3 years in Dremudom wisely, then I thought to myself, then I need to spend it wisely by doing activities then. I need to do more activities in Dremudom so that I can safely say that I've spent my 3 years wisely. So I've done this and that. And sometimes it was tiring, but I think it gives me experience and new friendships as well. And I think that's a good point of doing activities, because connections are really important in Dremudom. I think one of the main differences between high school maths and middle school maths is that in high school maths, there's a sort of concept you can grab hold of while studying, such as matrices. If you can grasp it, then you can apply the knowledge to all the other questions. Whereas in middle school, in Modon, when you have a concept, that concept can go many ways, in many thousands of ways you can imagine. So it's quite hard to master all of them. That's the main difference, I think. Well, for me, I think people who are not as successful in maths, I think they focus on the wrong sides of maths, such as Napier, the father of logarithms. That's not relevant knowledge. Or maybe you don't spend too much time on it. And sometimes in, let's say, matrices, you spend time on the formulas only, but not on the concepts. But then again, the formulas, they come from the concepts. So if you understand the concept and get to that formula on your own, I think that's going to be good for understanding, not just memorizing. That also applies in trigonometry, because some formulas in trigonometry, if you can remember the tangent formulas, then you can do the cotangent formulas as well, because they basically come from the same source. And if you know the tan, then you can do the cotan as well. I think it's like that. And people, like I said, they spend too much time memorizing formulas that they tend to forget that you can only remember one, and that's it. Well, I think people, they spend too little time on certain areas of maths. And I think it comes from within as well, such as sometimes you think real numbers, they're quite easy. I don't have to do too much of them, but in fact, they do not understand it yet. Well, I think regarding the concepts and knowledge, I think they're quite similar in studying, whereas you need lots of experience and stuff. But in order to be good at maths, such as in my case, I think I could be good at maths in like around a year or so, because from grade 10 to grade 11, where I think it's my growth period. I think that's the amount of time that I've spent on mastering the stuff. Whereas in English, I think it's not like maths. English is a lifelong journey, I think, because English, in my opinion, it can go places. It can go lots of places. You have thousands and thousands of words you cannot possibly remember in like a few years, and you need lots of experience and the right environment to use them and remember them. So yeah, I think the main difference is the time spent. I've done the questions, the problems in the white book, and in that white book, I think is quite helpful because, of course, they're past papers and they're an indicator of what you should expect in the exam. And other than that, I sometimes buy math books from the Chulalongkorn Book Center as well. Well, it certainly helped because when I went into the first semester of grade 10, at first they thought maybe a 3.5 maybe because maths isn't my strongest point since middle school. When the scores came out, I got a 4. It was quite unexpected really. So that was when I realized then high school maths clearly different from middle school maths. I only got 4 every semester. I got 4, but there was the second semester in grade 10 for maths I got 3 because honest with you, I sort of did too many school activities in that period. So I would say regarding my social life, grade 10, so the second semester of grade 10 is one of my high points, but when it comes to scores, it's not my best really, so. I think PMAX questions and problems are more updated than the ones that you find in the white book. Because regarding the white book, the Demodome teachers, they rarely update it. So, such as the latest exam in the book could be from like 2015 or something. Whereas in PMAX's case, he has sources for various problems and questions that can be more updated than the one in the book. So I think it's a big help for me in Demodome as well. And also, I could also agree that regarding entrance exams as well, not just Demodome, I think it's really good because other than the 9 subject exams that you have in the previous years, he also provides various exams from various sources I have yet to know. I wanted to be a doctor. To be honest with you, I wanted to be a doctor since I was in 5th grade, I think. Because same as Demodome, both my parents are doctors and both my parents are from Sirat and they work in Sirat as well, so I wanted to go to Sirat. I think I've been scared about it since I was in the first semester of grade 11. However, I didn't start until like second semester, grade 11. That was when I started to get really serious about entrance exams. And also, I think the environment that I'm in, the school environment also pushed me to become more serious as well because a lot of my friends, they're also preparing themselves for the exam. And in my opinion, and as it's normal for humans to fear being left behind, then I think I started to become more concerned and started to like do what my other friends did, and which was to start preparing for the exams. Well, in the second semester of grade 11, started with chemistry, the science stuff, chemistry, physics, biology, chemistry with Hitong and PMAC, physics with Kunat, and biology with Krutu. Such as in physics, normally I would think of physics as a sort of subject where you have to like memorize all the formulas and stuff. But learning physics isn't just learning formulas in Demodome that I've learned. I've learned that you must also understand the mechanics of it, especially when it comes to certain principles. And in order to see the big picture of the question or the exam, by drawing out the question, going step by step, such as place one box on the table. Okay, so I draw a table and place one box on it, etc. So physics, in M4, I studied with a Demodome teacher called Teacher Dapon. He's really an artistic man because when he does his worksheets or writes down stuff, he always uses pastel colors. And his handwriting is really good as well, so that's one of the things I admire about him. And he's a sort of physics teacher that you would really want as your teacher because he's like really cool, easygoing, he's not serious at all. Whenever you need advice, he would gladly give you advice. In my opinion, he's really good, but some friends would disagree, but I think he's good. I felt it was okay since the biology, chemistry, English, science were, I think, pretty good. So I felt quite confident that I would get into Sirat. And also, medical aptitude, quantum pad. This year's score was quite lower than previous years. Total, I think, 71 something. แพทเลข I think it's okay, not that good, but 228 but it's okay, but not as much as I would expect. While GAT, I think the เชื่อมโยง part, I got full marks on that. While English, I got 142.5. But really, when the scores came out, I was like, okay, math's not as good as I would expect, but oh, English. So my joy for English sort of like overshadowed my worries about maths. But in chemistry and biology, at first, these two subjects I really hated in school. But when it came to exam, I got pretty okay scores, so I was really satisfied. So what I would recommend to you juniors at home, a week before the exam. If you are a night owl that likes to sleep late at night, at least 1 week before the exam, try to reset your clock and sleep early. It will be good for you and it will make you feel bright and fresh on the exam day. Because there was one time when I had to do an exam in Debudong. I slept late that night, and when I woke up that day, I felt really dizzy, really tired. So I didn't want that to happen to you juniors. So I think that is really important. Sleep is very important. And before the exam, I think you should be disciplined during the few months leading up to the exam, because when you're at the point of no return after the exam, you cannot turn back time and reset what you have done. During the last few months, try to work as hard as you can. Don't push it too hard though. If you can do that, then I think you'll be very successful. Always believe in yourself. I know that sometimes in preparing for an exam, you might feel down or depressed or even worried. And I think it's okay to feel that, because during the exam time, I felt like that as well. But I think it's best to quickly overcome that and move on and do the best that you can. I think for the normal person, English, I think, should not be viewed as a hard subject. I think English should be viewed as more of a sort of experience within itself. English is not just a new language, it's an experience in itself. It as a bridge that can connect cultures throughout the world. And if you want to do anything with anyone in the future, I think English plays an important part. So English should be viewed as an experience. And in improving English, I think one of the basic things you can do is just simply using English. I think one of the ways you can improve English is by using English, such as reading English newspapers, reading English columns, reading English blog posts, or maybe even watching English television. Since by watching English television, you would get both vocabulary, the sentence structures, and also the accent as well. I think that's very important. I think another main factor in studying English is your passion in studying English. If you study English but have no passion, I don't think you're going to succeed. So when you're passionate about English, you would want to know about why is something like that? Why is this word like that? It will take you down this deep rabbit hole where you can discover many other interesting things about English. It's not contained in a small field of knowledge, but it's more like a vast universe of various things. If you're someone who is worried about correct grammar or vocabulary, I think if you dwell yourself and invest time in English, I think you're going to absorb those sentence structures, those grammatical stuff, vocabulary. I think it's all going to be absorbed in you like a sponge. So yeah, I think time is what's very important. You put time and effort, you're passionate about it, you're interested in it. So yeah, I think it's one of the key factors in studying English. And if you still speak English with a Thai accent, then not to worry, because if you're confident using English, your English is going to improve 100%. I think one of the main obstacles in using English in daily life is your confidence in using English. If you're confident, then you will definitely succeed in studying English. And if you can, then try to speak to other people in English as well. You can possibly improve your interaction skills in English as well. And of course, when you first improve your English, sure, there's going to be some mistakes, but in the end, these mistakes are going to help you improve your English to a higher level. So use these mistakes to your advantage. Don't feel down about them. And I think you're going to succeed.